Not far from the farmlands of Rancho Santa Fe, in the heart of Hollywood, sits a landmarked institution from the 1930s where its original owner, Lim Kwan, taught generations about the joys of Chinese-American cooking. When we heard that the legendary Formosa Cafe just completed a 2-year, $2.4 million restoration, we decided to take a road trip up to sunny Los Angeles to learn more about the special place this restaurant occupies in the hearts of both Angelenos and in Asian American entertainment history.
This was a cafe in the 1920s called the Red Post. And then in 1939, it became Formosa. Lim Kwan, the chef, became a partner with Jimmy Bernstein. And they decided to let Lem choose the theme. He created what we see now. My goal was to preserve all the history that everyone remembers. You know, the place changed several times throughout the decade, little bits. My time was in the 90s, and so the way you see it now is very much the way it was in the 90s, the way you saw it in the movie LA Confidential.
Right.
Just like that.
That iconic scene with Lana Turner.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. Who has a booth here, and then that was a real thing. It wasn't
Which one was
made up.
Lana's booth?
Lana's was next to Elvis.
Ah.
Yeah, and this was Marilyn Monroe's right here.
Okay.
LA had an amazing train system called the Red Car Line. This was from the original series trains. It was, or by 1930s, it was old and was decommissioned and replaced. So you could buy a train car the way you would buy a container today, add it to your business, make a cheap, like, add a room.
Okay.
And that's what they did. They bought this in 1940, added it to the Formosa for more seating.
In addition to the beautiful new interiors, the restored Formosa Cafe also acts as a thoughtfully curated exhibition of Asian American Hollywood history and memorabilia.
And then I tracked down an author that I was a fan of, a guy named Arthur Dong.
Okay.
He had written a book about the nightclubs of Chinatown, San Francisco, called Forbidden City. And it was right up my alley, exactly the kind of like 30s, 40s, you know, stuff I like.
History, romance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it turns out he lives in LA, and I met with him, and he was working on a new book called Hollywood Chinese, which is really what the Formosa is. You know, it's a mix of Hollywood and Chinese together. And so I said, hey, would you like to curate this room? You know, put some of your collection into it. And he said yes. He put together, in chronological order, every Asian American actor, actress from about 1910 all the way to 1970. The menu was mostly Cantonese Chinese.
Chinese American.
Yes, exactly.
Typical of that time.
Yes, I think it was just a mix of whatever Lem knew how to make.
Right.
You know, ended up on the menu.
The restaurant's celebration of Asians on both sides of the camera is a collaboration with the writer and filmmaker Arthur Dong, the leading historian of the Asian American role in Hollywood.
They walk in, have the drinks, the Mai Tais, have the wontons. If all they feel is that impression like, whoa, I didn't know Hollywood had all these Asian Americans participating, and they're beautiful, and they're gruff as well. I mean, some of the actors are character actors, and if that's all a patron walks away from being in the back room, I would have been happy. I remember the first conversation I had with Bobby was, but you know, I had to think about what my people are going to think of me doing this work here. Will they think I'm appropriating our culture? Will they think that I'm just using it to, in this environment? And I can see where there might be some criticism. Well, how can you do this to our history? But I think they care, and also I think the fact that the Formosa Cafe is so beloved by so many people in town.
I was actually completely blown away by the number of Asian Americans lining those walls, all those incredible, gorgeous actors, dancers, directors, producers. Who knew that Hollywood had such a rich Asian American history?
As a kid, I've always loved film history, and my goal is actually to be a film historian. But then I became a filmmaker. But everything I do is infused with a lot of research. And if you look at my films, they often have really generous doses of archival material. And I think that's because, I mean, I'm not a psychoanalyst, but I think that's why my films have a lot of archival photos and footage, and it's because I just love the research. Making films is an excuse for me to research history. and especially film history.
That's why I think this restaurant, this whole concept works so well, because it is a historical anthology of what happened during a period of time in LA, and it feels alive and it's breathing. That's why it's a restaurant. It's not a historical museum. You know, you come here and you eat and you drink and you have fun.
But I want you to personally know how personally proud I felt sitting in that room, looking up at all those beautiful faces and seeing all that history on the walls. Made me really proud to be a Chinese American and kind of seeing this part of history that a lot of people don't get to see. So thank you for sharing that with all of us.
Thank you.